do we ever say that somebody entirely new to something may have a slight advantage because they don't know the previous version, right? So what they open up will be what they know. So those of you who have previously used it, there are some changes that we'll talk about today. Okay, perfect. Well, we're excited to have you all with us. We'll go ahead and get started. We appreciate you being here, whether you are here in person on your last precious week of summer, or you are joining us via video. We are excited that you are here to learn a little bit more about Canvas for elementary. And we were just talking that if you've previously used Canvas, all Canvas users use the same version all the way from elementary up through high school and even secondary. But they have modified the elementary version to be more age appropriate and to have some slightly different features in it. So we are here to talk a little bit about that new Canvas for elementary. And there's no way we're going to cover everything you need to know about Canvas in 45 minutes, right? There's a whole lot to learn. If you are brand new to Canvas, hopefully this is just an introductory piece, and we will show you resources where you can go to get even more information. My name is Carrie Kuhnert, and I am on our digital curriculum team and help with Canvas implementation at the elementary level.
I'm Nicole Carter, also on the digital curriculum team and also supporting literacy instruction for secondary, and use Canvas all the time.
Hey friends, Chris Giles, Canvas admin, work on our digital curriculum innovation team with Carrie Nicole. Use Canvas all the time because I have to.
And I think we just want to make sure that we again reiterate that the equity lens is a part of everything that we do. We do in fact have in your Canvas courses, once they are launched for you, launching the Canvas unit for the beginning of the school year. And those particularly for elementary hold a ton of lessons that feature equity and the Dr. Goldie Mohammed identity pieces, and we would highly recommend that you seek those out in the Canvas module section and use those at the beginning of the year. It is fabulous, ready to go turnkey lessons that will teach you a ton about Canvas. We kind of were mad scientists in the background, Carrie and I, wanting to teach the teachers about different features within Canvas, but then also just the launch of Canvas for students to make it nice and easy. It has features that teach the kids how to use the recording Canvas feature to tell you how to say their name, which is just helpful when you have students that have trickier sounding names. There's sections for you to get to know them, 2 truths and a lie. Carrie, remind me some of the other ones we have in there, but just a really great module that's very equity focused, and just reminding you that that's everything that we do.
Yeah, absolutely. We have that. I linked it on slide 9 in this presentation for you. So that is there. It's in the Commons. You would need to download it into your Canvas course in order to utilize that.
Do they have to ask Chris that though? Because it is something in the plans we've had in the past that it's been in their modules. Oh, but we had it in the homeroom class before. Anyways, we'll try and make sure we add it. It's in the Commons too, though. Okay, so I don't know, Chris, do you want to talk a little bit about why we're moving over to Canvas for elementary?
Totally. A couple of reasons why we're moving over. One of the biggest reasons, to be quite honest, is this is a move that Canvas has made. And so when Canvas makes a move this large, it's really a great idea for us to kind of keep up with that. So with them making this move, we decided that the best thing to do is to adopt it for our elementary. Our middle school and high school will not see the same experience. However, if you're a parent who potentially has an elementary, middle school, high school student, you might see both. So that's one reason. 2, the other reason why is because elementary teachers teach a course for each subject area. And so it kind of just organizes that content and makes things a little bit easier to navigate for both staff, students, as well as parents.
And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Chris, but one of the main reasons that we adopted Canvas as a district is trying to prepare our students, right, to be college and career ready. And I believe that the great majority of colleges, definitely in the Oregon area and beyond that, utilize Canvas. So as our graduates move on to secondary school, if that's what they choose to do, they would already have Canvas under their belt and be proficient in that.
Yep.
Now, as you always like walk things backward, right? Like, yes, that's great for college, great for high school. We launched a whole cohort of teachers working on Canvas for elementary, having our 5th grade teachers especially teach their students how to utilize Canvas to benefit when they move off into middle school. And we have gotten such great feedback from 6th grade teachers, because as you can imagine, that's already quite a transition, going from one teacher to multiple teachers and all kinds of transitioning and lockers and social things that you have going on in middle school. But the students who already knew how to use Canvas in that safer, warmer little nest of a 5th grade classroom, where they had one teacher and learned the ins and outs of it, did so much better in middle school. They go, oh, I'm adding more teachers and more courses and no big deal, because I already know all the basics of Canvas. So we're really trying to do a push to get as many of our elementary, especially our 5th grade, some sort of exposure to Canvas prior to sending kids up to middle school, just to help them.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and dive into a live demo. And just like we were talking about earlier, I have a little bit of summer brain. It's been a while since we looked at all of this. So hopefully with the 3 of us, we'll be able to go through all of the different components and all of the changes that will hopefully help you through the process.
Nicole, before you get started, is it okay if people do have questions, you want them to wait till the end, or is it okay if they ask while we're going through the processing?
Yeah, if you have questions, feel free to ask. Yeah, okay. There's 3 of us, so you can either unmute yourself or send it in the chat, and we'll make sure to stop and answer for sure. Yeah. Okay, so as we kind of dive in, one thing to remind ourselves or to understand, I think the most important piece is the navigation really is different. And something to keep in mind when you're giving direct instruction to the students is that navigation piece. You no longer have a homeroom like you had before. And I know some of our teachers in the past would function for the most part just out of their homeroom and weren't necessarily working with the different classes or different subjects as we had them set up. And so that is a different change than what you've had in the past. So you now have a homeroom. The homeroom doesn't necessarily allow you to do any content, which is something that Carrie and I focused on quite early. And we're like, oh, there's sometimes things that don't fit into subject matters, maybe SEL content, maybe some health content, I don't know, that you would maybe put in a homeroom course, that not having the ability to build the modules out could be kind of tricky. So that's something we are taking a closer look at. Your homeroom piece is for the most part there for you to provide announcements to your students, which is what you're seeing here on this front page. And it's kind of their like launching pad. Is there anything else you would kind of say to that, Chris? No? Sounds good? Okay. I used to have this so nicely, and now I feel like I need to change it around. I had it so nicely. You guys, it's that summer reading brain. Ugh.
Well, plus we had, like, earlier, you may not know, but we had a whole Thanos snap happen about a month ago, and it wiped out 17,000 enrollment. So this is not all new. This is part of the Thanos snap. So you're okay.
Okay, good. Because I previously had it so that you really only had these nice colorful subjects right here on the screen for you to see. And so anyways, I just changed it really quickly for you. So as Carrie and I were kind of planning what this would look like for you guys, you know, last year we had kind of a campground theme that was made for all of the elementary courses. And of course you have the ability to change those as you need to. But you now have with this Canvas for elementary, these little cards down below that lead you into each of your subject areas. So you are kind of being forced out of staying with just in the one course of homeroom and starting to put modules together in the different course areas. From a student's perspective, when they hit home, they come to this homeroom screen with the announcement and then their courses or subject areas down below. We've tried to make them nice and bright and easy to find. And then therefore you can say, click on the blue button. We're going to writing right now, or whatever. In terms of the announcements, we kind of wanted to talk a little bit about how we saw that potentially working for you, and different use cases for that announcement feature. In the past, where you had your homeroom, you had basically a page that you could go in and manipulate. That page could have just a table that you inputted your information with links to your assignments and stuff. Or some people did also embed like a agenda, Google slide, which is kind of what you're seeing here. So we're just going to show you a couple of different options. Now with the announcements, Chris, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm remembering that the announcements are up and live on the screen like this for 2 weeks. Is that correct? 14 days or something, 2 weeks. Okay. So, you know, one thought that Carrie and I had just for use, easy use for us as a teacher, if you already were using something like you see on the screen here, a slide deck that you put up on the projector that shows the agenda for today, if you embed that into an announcement, you're already messing with it and using it on your projector anyways. And now it's up on Canvas for the kids to access at different times as well. And then you would only really need to go in and put in a new announcement with your same agenda embed every 2 weeks, which is kind of obnoxious, but you know, whatever, we're working with it. And so in this instance, you know, you can actually make these clickable. I can't remember if I did that on here. Yes. Okay. So a student could see this announcement and could click straight from the slide deck into an actual assignment should I have something created. So you could still function just like you did before, using those slide decks by just hyperlinking to your assignments. This is one that would show all of your different subject areas for just the day. But we're going to go, I'm going to click through a few different options as well. So let's see. Another idea would be to do a full week's worth, a full week's agenda. And what we noticed in here is that, yes, the links do work, and you can click on them and see the different changes. If you were to hide slides that you're working on that are coming up next week, for example, I don't want the kids to see that, so it won't necessarily click through on those. But I think they can potentially like go down like I just did and go to them. Maybe, I'm not sure. We might have to check on that. But here's an option for going, instead of just one day, you could go multiple days and just again work within that one space. I think Carrie and I were just really trying to think about ways to make it easier for you to not have to go back and do an announcement every day, but totally could be something you're into, right? Like it totally is up to you. Okay, someone has a question.
I used announcements last year in Flex, and I found what was helpful was, you know, they might not have my class every day, but it would go off at like 7 a.m. Hey, just a reminder, you have art class at, 9 o'clock. Here's the link, and it would go off. And then at the end of the day, I would go back in there and I would change at the bottom of the announcement that you can set it to go off again the following day that you have art, or the following day that class has art. That way it's not up all the time. Plus, I think sometimes in settings, kids' parents can turn off announcements too, so then they don't see them. So, but I just, I know that I'm in Flex, so I'm like a whole other beast, but I just know that if students turn that off, then they're not seeing those important things. So
yeah, definitely. Thank you. So this is another example of just, instead of doing an embed of a slide deck, we're just using the straight rich text editor within Canvas and doing like a table with some images and then hyperlinking to the lessons. So it's again a feature that can work in a lot of different ways for you. You just have to find what you're the most comfortable with. But I would say that that would be probably one of the biggest differences or changes when it comes to the Canvas for elementary. Additionally, in your homeroom, you have access to the resources, which it says resources everywhere else, but when you're editing, it says important info. This is an area where I think, Chris, we're planning on cleaning this section up, right? The student application section.
Yeah, I'm going to remove all of it. There's not going to be, my goal is for there to be nothing that, well, very minimal. Yes.
Yeah. So I think my idea here would be to, maybe include some links that students might need to use on a more regular basis. Could they find most of these in the student bookmark page? Yes. But you never know how a kid is going to access some of that stuff. So this is just generic stuff. We have access to all of these, by the way, and I don't know if Carrie can find that and put it in the chat for you. But if you're liking any of these templates or any of the things that you're seeing here and you'd like to change it around so that it works better for you. For instance, the Sora login is unique to your school or site. So you'd need to go in and grab the link for that and change it. The counselor's corner, like that would link to maybe if you have a counselor that has a Canvas section, Canvas page, or something that they want the kids to have access to, like it's up to you on how you kind of manipulate that. But that is one of the options. And then I'm trying to think if there's anything else with homeroom. Chris, what do you think? No? Okay.
We're just talking about the fact that you can, if you had a student absent or whatever, they can navigate to the previous day's agenda to go find work that they missed or whatever, or students at homesick and is like, what did we do? Well, boom, there you go. All right, go, hop back to yesterday, see what yesterday's assignments were. And just to aid students, hopefully these are live linked, so it goes directly to that writing assignment in that module, in that course, just to limit the amount of navigating that students need to do.
And of course, they still have access to the calendar feature in Canvas as well. So as long as you're, dating properly any of the assignments you're doing in Canvas, they can access through the calendar too. But it definitely seems like the agenda feature has been the most useful. As Carrie said, for like the navigating. In terms of here's the thing. I get real frustrated with this, so I just want to make sure everybody knows. In order to get access to the agenda or to change the resource page, you have to click this. You either have to click the button that says plus assignment. It's like a blue button. If you don't have any assignments, it's a blue button. Otherwise, it's like this little pencil. And then once you get that, then you have over here on the side, the ability to go into, for the homeroom class only, that important info page that I just showed you, files and this navigational settings for this particular course. But I don't understand why they made it weird like that for us, but it's important for us to all know that that's how you get in there and how you can then edit.
Now
go ahead.
I'll say, when you think in terms of an elementary classroom, it's like that navigating part, right? So when you're in that homeroom, beautiful. I can see the day's announcement. I can see all of my other subject areas listed beneath. Like that's fairly concrete. Once you get into one of the subject areas, they lose some of that just innate basic navigation that's on the home page. So if Nicole, do you mind clicking on one of those? So she's just going to hop into one of the other categories. And we just made the banner just the same color just to make it nice and easy for kids. Yes, so everybody is in reading, everybody is in other. One of the things that we set up is because once I'm in here, I can't get from other to math. I can't go directly from other to math or other to science or other to any other subject area because all those buttons are gone at the bottom. So you can go over to subjects on the left and then navigate to find them. But we were trying to find something that was more visual for elementary students. So Nicole and I built just a header right there that you can see all the different colored buttons. So You are welcome to delete any of that. We put it in there to hopefully, if you'd like it, we already have it set up. The buttons are already done. They're already labeled. The one thing that you will need to do is to link them to your actual courses, right? I can't link them to your health class or your writing class. You would need to do that. And on any page, just like before, and if you're new to Canvas, there's that little pencil in the upper right-hand corner there. And if you click on that in any of the pages, that will take you to the ability for you to edit that page. So that's where you go to make changes. You decide you don't want that box. Great. Right there, Nicole's showing you how you would be able to link that page. So you would link it and you would paste in your address for your subject area page. So I know that's a little bit of a pain right up front before school starts, but if I had my own 5th grade classroom, I would want them to be able to navigate nice and quickly and use those color familiar buttons just for efficiency. That certainly doesn't mean you have to. You're welcome to delete that out. Also on every page, we put in a Bitmoji classroom, or we put in some sort of a resource. Again, it's not really the content of that page. It's sort of a pretty placeholder. It certainly could be the content. You could have all the units for the year spelled out there with great visuals. Here's our unit on blank, and here's our unit on matter, and here's our unit on whatever. I could click on that great visual of your unit and it would take me then to the module for that content. So you get to design what you feel like this home page looks like for each of the subjects. But I did want to talk really quickly about that navigation piece to go back and forth seamlessly.
And the other thing that, and Chris, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like the other thing that Canvas for Elementary is kind of forcing us to do is to work in modules, which we've seen everybody that's been working in Canvas goes that route anyways, and we're really pleased and happy about that. But it does kind of force you into thinking about the organization. And so the students will, once they click in to get into any of the assignments, will go into the module. Is that correct?
Yeah, and the good news about that is any 5th grade student going to 6th grade will feel comfortable with modules because they experienced that in elementary. And that's good for me because it forces our secondary teachers to make that shift, because it really is part of our district-wide consistent agreements too.
So as a student, for example, just to reiterate, you've got what Carrie was just talking about here. You've got your access to the other pieces, and then up here next to the title, this is what the students see. So the navigation that used to be over here on the left-hand side, where they could click into assignments, they could click into discussions, they could, whatever, like you had the ability to remove any and all of those if you wanted to in settings, but in Canvas for Elementary, they've taken it out completely. So the only option or way students can get into a specific assignment is to click into modules, or as Carrie was saying, to use this kind of feature where you're listing out the units or direct linking, whether that's from the home page or here specifically to an assignment. I am not of the mindset that I feel it's developmentally appropriate, to be perfectly honest, to have students like in something like this that goes on and on and on and on and on to try and, you know, dig through and find what specific assignment you're asking them to look at. This is how they access if you don't go through that other way of direct linking in an agenda or something. So it has good uses and bad. We're really excited it's forcing you to use modules from an organizational standpoint, but I would love for teachers to think about different ways to get our students navigated to the assignments that they need.
I think also, and again, if you're new to Canvas, or in the past, teachers, like we mentioned, have used only their homeroom course to do everything. Well, with the advantage of having a science and a social studies course, those modules shouldn't be as long because those modules are dedicated to that course. However, 100% agree with Nicole, and maybe this is where that chunking of just modules is only going to contain 3 or 4 or 5 components versus a module that has 30 components of students, because you can put headers in Monday, Tuesday, or something like that. But after a while, it becomes a blur to a 5th grader if I have to scroll through and figure out what's next. And then also, you can drag the most current module to the top. They don't always have to follow. Like as you build a module, it goes to the bottom. You can drag the most current module to the top, so the students are always aware of, ooh, it's the first thing I'm looking at, it's the top one. So
The other thought process we had too was to think about these resource pages. You know, could you do a resource page that includes specific links for each subject area? Sure. And I think that we might have even done that, Carrie. Did we do that on like
I believe
this?
there
I'm
are,
in other right now, but did
Yeah.
we do that maybe in the math or?
I believe there are resource slides in each of them.
There are resource slides. We talked about whether it would be confusing. So if you are an elementary student and you're trying to find a resource, but it's only listed in writing or it's
Right,
only
thank you,
listed
Carrie.
in math,
Right.
that might
Yeah.
be difficult, confusing, right? I keep touching
Right.
resources, mine's not there. So we
Right.
talked about making one generic. You could definitely make a math resources and a writing resources and a reading resources as long as kids understood that you only access that one when you are in the math course. That's the only time you can see the math resources. We were playing around with this idea of a generic, right? Like these are the links you need to know, the big picture, and every single one, we went through and pasted that in every one of our courses in the resources tab. The nice part about that is I don't want to go updating all of that all year. So the fact that it is just an embedded slide deck means all we have to do is change the link on a slide deck and it automatically updates it in all the places that we embedded it, which is why we were tending to go to using Google slide decks, again, because you have multiple courses.
Yes. Thank you.
So just
Carrie.
trying to be efficient, right? If I want to update something, boom, here you go. Everybody has it updated all at once.
Does that make sense to everybody? Like, I don't want to, like if you're using Google Docs, okay. That's the part I love, the fact that we can integrate to Google.
Yeah. I'm trying to think if there's any other big pieces here. I think Carrie and I have probably tried to reiterate again and again, is just thinking about that navigation for the kids.
I think a big piece potentially too, on every subject you'll see where it says plus announcement.
Oh, sorry.
So the reason why I bring this up, and I don't, Jocelyn, if you're still hanging out with us, because Jocelyn taught at Flex. I personally, I'm not going to say don't do it, but if my announcements is driven from my home page, I don't feel like I need to do announcement for science and for social studies and for all these other courses. I would just essentially ignore that. But Jocelyn, based on your experience, do you feel like you just used the homeroom announcements, or was it important to use the subject areas too?
Well, I'm my own content. I'm not elementary. I don't teach elementary classroom. I teach elementary art. So I'm like a special. So I'm in their homeroom. And if they clicked on, I think I was in their homeroom. If they clicked on me, or if they clicked on art, it would take them to my art canvas page, I think. Right. Don't quote me on that, Teresa. I know you were with Flex last year too.
Yeah. And that might be important for you because you're the special areas teacher who does want to make an announcement for your course. I think that would make sense. But if I was teaching the content, those course contents, I don't know if I would, but I know that Teresa, you have your hand up. So
yeah. I mean, I was just going to comment on that. Like Jocelyn said, I was at Flex last year too. So we did not use the
subject
announcement, right? The plus announcement on each individual subject header page, except I taught first grade at Flex. So what we did was some of us ended up putting like a little arrow or a little emoji so that the kids knew where to click, because it was pointing right to, you know, if you need to click, once you're here, you need to click a module. So it just kind of helped navigation purposes, but that's all we put. And that was it.
Like almost like an image. That makes
exactly.
Sense. Okay.
Yeah.
No, I just wanted to clarify that you didn't. Again, we don't want to tell people not to, but I will tell you that an announcement sends a notification to students. So if you are using those other courses for creating announcements, that's more noise. So our goal is definitely to inform and not to annoy. So
I was probably annoying because I wanted kids to come. So it was just, I needed everyone to know they had art that day. So
yeah, and you were using the announcement as a communication piece, so that's kind of a different, you know. Yeah, so it's trying to wrap your brain around like how are you going to use it? Where do kids need, what information do kids need? Do they need a daily agenda on there? Is that how much you're utilizing Canvas? Are you linking all the assignments? And then maybe they're not specific assignments. Maybe it's the agenda for the day, or we're going to do silent reading, right? Like there's nothing linked to that. That's just information for the kids to know. And reminder, this field trip permission slip is due, or, you know, whatever, all that kind of stuff. You know, 20 minutes in Dreambox. That's my Dreambox push right there as well. So you know, it doesn't have to necessarily be linked to any assignment per se. It's just what we're doing. And Chris, you're saying Canvas for Elementary is now up and classes are not rostered. Is that correct?
Yeah,
Okay.
classes will not mostly, elementary is always last to the gate, so they may not even see theirs till next week. But most secondary should see courses, I think, start working through on Friday. But a teacher right now could, like Carrie could go right now, click in her course and see all of her last year's courses that she's taught in this Canvas Elementary visual feel. So, and if you get stuck or you need help, just let us know. I mean, we're happy to help you walk through that process. So.
And just like last year, we are providing this basic template for you. So your buttons will be colored like this. You will have the green math thing at the top. You will have the Bitmoji classroom that we created as a starting point. You are welcome to delete any of that, modify it, adjust it, make it work for you, but at least it isn't a totally blank slate that you are receiving. So you have a starting point should you want it. If you want to decorate it with your own theme, go to town. Nancy, you have a question?
Yeah, I work in a specialized program, and so my students, some of them are in a gen ed class for the majority of the day. Some of them split their time, and some of them are in my class the whole time. Is there a way for them to be assigned to both Canvas in my class and in their general education class, or is it one or the other?
So, okay, so let me think back. Okay, you teach specifically what?
I'm in a social communication classroom, so I have students who, it's a special education classroom.
Gotcha,
So
okay.
students are sometimes in mine, sometimes out the whole
Yes.
time. Okay.
So if you have basically sections sent into Synergy, then that section, those class periods that you see will create a Canvas course for you. But at the same time, if I was a partner teacher and I also saw the same students that came from you to me, they should be, and I say should be, added to that teacher's roster through Synergy as hopefully as a separate section, meaning they're still in the class, but if the teacher wanted to associate different work. So we've had a few teachers last year, Kristen Kiesel and a few other teachers who've had that exact situation where they had students who went to a different classroom and then it came back to them for halftime. So I say when the classes are populated next week, that's something you can look at and kind of compare with those teachers you work with, and we can kind of make sure that this is set up correctly.
So
it'll be your own Canvas course, and it'll be their own Canvas course, even though you both have the same student. It'll be your course with those students.
And then the students would see, they would have to choose, I'm going to go to this classroom or I'm going to go to that classroom.
In Canvas, they would make like that, just like you're seeing on the screen right now. If I think Nicole goes to home, a student would see, here's the courses that I as a student am enrolled in, and where it says my subjects, I would see my teachers, math and reading, but then I would also see your course as one of the options for them to click on as well.
Okay.
And that's if everything's rostered and set up through Synergy, because that's what actually ends up pushing through that that information.
So what I would have to say, this student will be in that classroom for math. This student will be in that classroom for reading. I have to be very specific about that, which is not a usual elementary thing.
And that's what I don't know, because I do know that there's people who set up the register sets up the schedules for elementary. It is a little bit different than secondary. So maybe connect with your elementary register to find out. I know that with Ms. Kiesel and some other teachers, we had to have those students added to their course as a separate section because Synergy, they weren't beginning to add as Synergy. So we could manually add them if we had to. So worst case scenario, we will find a solution to make this work.
Okay.
I think.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, I'm trying to find
I know.
resources.
I put that Bitmoji slide deck for you on slide 27. It's one of those kind of monster If you would love the world of creating Bitmoji classrooms, to me, it's just not so much the creating of it, but it's the one place for kids to find all the links. I know they have fabulous ones for math resource or whatever like that. They're just familiar with it. And they know if I touch here, I get the pattern blocks or, whatever it is, the familiarity. So we put a whole bunch of them in that giant slide deck. There is furniture. If you really want to get fancy and make yourself look spectacular in your little Bitmoji classroom, go to town. You have all the stuff there to do it. But there's a whole bunch of rooms that are already done. And like, if that's what you want to add your picture and your specific links to your Epic classroom, your whatever, there's some that are ready for you and ready to go. So that is linked for you.
And I think I think we talked about it, but just real quickly, everybody's going to get the same course shell, the same reading, writing, that will come up for you automatically. You don't have to do anything import or anything. However, I believe also that Bitmoji resource is also going to come in. So you don't have to go searching for it. It'll be there. You will need to make a copy, right, Carrie? I think if they click on it, they can make a copy, and that way they can do the editing themselves, right?
Yeah, to personalize it, add your own self, add your own links, whatever. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
and I think we put directions on there. We put directions right in there. If you're not sure how to do that, we gave you a little video link of how to embed your own version of the one that we added. But if you don't like the one we added, change it up. Starting on slide 10 in the slide deck that we gave you today, there is just a kind of a really nice side-by-side that Nicole did showing you what the previous version of Canvas looked like. And
I didn't
now
do it, Chris did it. Sorry.
Oh, thanks, Chris. Credit. Sorry, removing credit from no. Nice job, Chris. What the previous version of Canvas looked like and now what the new version looked like. And there are a ton of links there that you can explore. There we go, like this guy. Okay, that's what it used to look like. Here's what it looks like now. Here's where the to-do list used to be. Here's where it is now. Here's how you used to find announcements. Here's how it is now. And a good question about where, if I am a new Canvas user, where should I go to get information and PD for tutorials? What would you recommend, Chris?
Pretty soon, we're going to have the Growing with Canvas level 1 and level 2. We don't have them up because they're in Teacher Source. We have to move them. So that'll be a course where teachers can sit and progress through. I also have a course called Passport for Teachers. Again, a very simple course, and because we're moving from Teacher Source to KickUp, we have to kind of just transition that. So they're not live yet, but I will go find it and see if I can find one right now that's available, so you don't have to register. That's the best place right now, I think, to me, in my opinion, to go to.
I'm going to share another resource with you. Chris.
Well, I was going to say, you also should have Canvas trailblazers, people that have been using Canvas in your building that are resources on your site to help with everything. So.
And Nicole, Chris, and I, during the pandemic, every week we did an entire series, a Canvas PD series for an entire year. And we did 3 levels. Just learning Canvas would be level 1. Level 2, oh, they had fancy names. I know they're fancy names too. Level 1 was called Discovery. Level 2 was called Create, and level 3 was called Explore and Collaborate. And again, progressing in skills. But we taught session after session, how do you create an assignment? How do you personalize your homepage? Some of that will not be the general things you can certainly apply to Canvas for elementary. It may look a tiny bit different because that was taught on the previous homepage, but once you get into the rich content editor, which is the part where we actually manipulate the page, it's going to be similar. So how to create an assignment, it's still applicable, even if your homepage looks a little different in Canvas for elementary. Those basic bones of how to work in Canvas are the same. So there are a ton of pages there with a ton of links, and we also put our video on there. So it's our video teaching a session for each one of those things. As well as if you've been using for Canvas for a while, how to use discussions and SpeedGrader and how to integrate Book Creator, which by the way, we have paid for this year and I'm super jazzed about. So if you haven't been using Book Creator, we have the premium version this year again, but all kinds of things in there.